I can understand why Joe Biden would have done this 20 minutes before his presidency ended, because if he didn't, it would have been an absolute slaughterhouse. If there was anything in their background that the American people found questionable or unethical, it was brought to the attention of the House that, hey, we want this to be public. Like, we want to see the details of this and what this was about. Do the American people deserve to know what happened?
When you say Harris, nobody knows who the hell you're talking about. Yeah? No, nobody has any idea. Harris. Hey, where's Harris? They know Kamala. They know Kambabla. That was the nickname I used for a while, but I don't use it anymore because everyone thought I was just mispronouncing her name. I wasn't. Kambabla.
Bill O'Reilly did what I thought was a fabulous take on former President Joe Biden's last day of what he called presidential corruption. The question remains at hand. Even though massive pardons have been passed down at the last minute of former President Joe Biden's administration, do the American people deserve to know about this money that was exchanged between foreign entities and individuals in the Biden family? Welcome to CozyCorner TV, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Kieran Smith, call me Q, and we are on the corner. What's up, everybody? So today we're on the corner with Bill O'Reilly, and we are talking about former President Joe Biden's last day of, as I said, what Bill O'Reilly called presidential corruption. I mean, he called it well, right? I think most people will look at this like some form of corruption, even though we've seen, let's be honest, a decent amount of it in this administration. But the last 20 minutes of former President Joe Biden's presidency, it seems that he has pardoned his entire family. This is very interesting. Not shocking so much, because I would think that any president might want to do this for their family. But because of the foreign money that's at hand, because of the information that we know thus far, Bill O'Reilly posed what I thought was a brilliant question. Do the American people deserve to know what happened dealing with this money and foreign entities and individuals that were exchanged between the Biden family? Do we deserve to know? So let's take a look at what Mr. Bill O'Reilly had to say about former President Joe Biden's last day in office.
In addition to pardoning his son, Hunter, who the House Oversight Committee says got at least $7.5 million from foreign entities. Okay? He's now pardoned, President Biden has, his whole family except for his wife and daughters. They are James Biden, the brother, James's wife, Sarah, Joe's younger sister, Valerie, her husband, and Joe's other brother, Francis Biden. What does this say? It says that all these people got what they mob calls a taste of the money coming into the Biden family from foreign.
So Bill O'Reilly says they got what the mob calls a taste coming into the Biden family. He's going to say from foreign countries and individuals. A taste. And it sounds just so corrupted, right? And so mobbish. But he kind of hits the nail on the head, right? It's a taste, because that is the reason why all these people needed to be pardoned, because in some way, shape, or form, money went through their hands, or they had some dealings with the money that came from the foreign entities and or individuals.
Foreign countries and individuals. That's what it says. Why else would they be considered? Now, this happened 20 minutes before Biden left office. Why? Because everybody knows what this is. It's a continuation of the grift. Now, last night I was on News Nation talking about this. Wrote, just before he walked out of the White House, Biden pardoned his family, everybody but Jill. Right. Okay. If I'm President Trump, I ask the Attorney General, Bondi, to appoint a special counsel to investigate the Biden family, even though a full pardon is on the books. Mm-hmm. Because the American people have a right to know whether there was graft and corruption at the vice presidential level and the presidential level.
Agreed.
That's what I do. Would you oppose that?
Yeah, I'd absolutely oppose it.
Of
I think
course
it
you
would be really
would.
funny if Pam Bondi picked a special counsel that wasn't someone who was already working at the DOJ, and see if the Republicans got upset about that the way they did with Jack Smith.
All right, so Cuomo and many other Americans, probably the majority on the left, don't want to know. They don't want to know if Joe Biden himself took money and what happened with the family distribution of funds from overseas.
Of course they
They don't
don't.
care. I care. I think you care. But if you don't care, I want you to write me and tell me why. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. I got an email today from a far left acquaintance of mine, and he's railing. He doesn't feel, he doesn't want to know. Now, sorry, but graft, bribery, money changing hands at the vice presidential or presidential level, you got to know.
Absolutely.
We don't know the country anymore, as Donald Trump would say. You got to know.
Yeah.
And we don't know. Now, there are people who accuse and say that Joe Biden took money. Hasn't been established. We're trying to get Homer on. He's got a book. And I'm optimistic we'll get him on this week, but he didn't have it. He couldn't get it. That Biden himself had money. Because if Biden got paid from Hunter or anybody else, Jim, like that, he didn't put it on his income tax. And that's a felony. Now, Biden can't pardon himself. Okay, so Biden's still hanging out there, the president. But his family, but it doesn't matter. We need to know, even if they can't be punished. Thank you.
So I would agree with Bill 100% there. And I want you guys to tell me, do you agree with Bill O'Reilly on this? We deserve to know. And it's not because there's some level of entitlement, but just because as the American people and what we stand for, our government, there shouldn't be secrets like that kept, right? Throughout even last year, we saw when there was someone who was being looked at for maybe some type of member of Trump's cabinet. And if there was anything in their background that the American people found questionable or unethical, it was brought to the attention of the House that, hey, we want this to be public. Like, we want to see the details of this and what this was about. If you're considering this this person taking a substantial role in the president's cabinet. And I think that that's a reasonable ask. I don't think that it should be a secret kept if you're someone who is up for a substantial role. I think at that point, you kind of put yourself out there, you know, for lack of better terms, to be exposed because you're in the public eye, right? So one thing I want to talk about that Bill mentioned was that this was done 20 minutes before Joe Biden's presidency ended. I think that was extremely intentional. I want you guys to think about this. Everyone has been in such an uproar about Joe Biden's entire administration, about how he's been one of the worst presidents, and they really couldn't stand how he dealt with the economy and how the country is just in a really bad position after he's exiting office. So why wouldn't he do this in the last 20 minutes of his presidency? If he did not, it would have been an absolute slaughterhouse. Like, we've already been talking about how much Joe Biden has upset us, right? So at this point, it's like we would see this a week or two ago if he had done it, and we'd be like, oh, great. Look at that. Look what Joe's doing next. You know what I mean? And some of us just wouldn't have the regard we should have for our president. You know, some of that with me comes from being in the military. So usually, even if I don't like a president, I just try to remain as silent as I can about it. Not saying I won't speak any opinion if asked, but I really just don't try to intentionally badmouth the president. But I mean, like, when you see that the American approval rating is at about 33%, that's a pretty bad rating, right? So I can understand why Joe Biden would have done this 20 minutes before his presidency ended, because if he didn't, it would have been an absolute slaughterhouse. Like, everyone would have lost it because they've already been losing it because of how the administration has been the last 4 years. So that makes total sense. Also, when Bill talks about how just like when he was talking to Cuomo, and Cuomo says, yeah, I would absolutely oppose someone wanting this to be public information. And Bill goes on to say, you know, there are Cuomo and many others that just don't want to know if Joe Biden took the money. He's absolutely right. And I've talked about this on prior videos, right? Joe Biden is a very beloved man and throughout government. Now, I'm not saying that's with everyone, but it is with a lot of people. And this is whether you or I like Joe Biden or not. He's been in government for approximately, I think it's 40, 45 years, possibly more if you add the presidency. So this guy is like really liked amongst a lot of people. Think about right after the debate and how poorly like we saw he kind of performed at the debate. There were people, especially far left liberals on the media the next day saying like, man, I really was hoping that Joe was in a better state than that. Like, I just simply do not want to vote for Donald Trump. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. They were being honest with us. They were saying, I just don't want to vote for Donald Trump. So really, for some people, because of their dedication to Joe Biden, they didn't care what state of mind he was in, mentally or physically. They just did not want to vote for Donald Trump. And some people were extremely dedicated to Joe Biden. So he's a pretty beloved, light guy. And I've said this before. And I would say like Obama, but if I'm honest, that's kind of being facetious because Joe Biden has been in government a lot longer than Obama has. So he's a very beloved guy. And a lot of people didn't want to see him go. Some of that was just they didn't want to vote for Trump. You know, they didn't like Donald Trump. And some of it was just their loyalty and dedication to Joe Biden. But Bill O'Reilly makes a great point where he says they don't want to know. And it's true. Think about it. Someone who you think highly of, you respect, you admire, you don't want to know the bad things that they've done. I mean, if we're totally honest with ourselves. Now, some people, truth is very important to them. I happen to be one of those people. So I will respect a person more knowing what happened in the background and being able to sit with them, listen with them, and meet them where they're at and not be judgmental. But everyone does not have that capacity. So some people are like, you know what? I love this person so much. They're not the president anymore, so I don't even care if they did this bad thing. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know about it. But you have some people that because truth is a very large or the foundational pillar in their life, they're like, no, I would like to know this information if possible, if it could be made public. So I'm dying to know, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about it being done 20 minutes before his presidency end? What do you think about him pardoning his entire family? Which I don't think that's too shocking. Like I said, I think most people would do that for their family. And what do you guys think about Bill O'Reilly saying, hey, there are just some people that don't want to know if Joe Biden had anything to do with the foreign exchange money. Don't want to know if Joe Biden had anything to do with taking money from foreign entities or individuals. Don't want to know if Joe Biden's hands even touched money at all. They don't care because they love the guy and they don't want to know anything bad about him. So I'm dying to know what you guys think. Thanks so much for stopping by and chilling on the corner with me. Until next time, guys, be peaceful, love yourselves, love one another. Peace.